are live. I'm gonna sit in the sun is where I want to sit. We are live. Let me notify the community. All right, we'll let a few people trickle in, and then we have a few things we want to cover. All right, yeah, I see. It's okay. Let's see how this works. So, all right, guys, it is a beautiful Friday. There's a few things I wanted to cover. I wanted to do some housekeeping and something that moved me a little bit this morning that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to put a little bit of focus into because I never like to see our community members, anyone, to feel like they failed. So that's not acceptable, and I'm going to see if I can set up some infrastructure, possibly to help along the lines for anyone going through a similar circumstance. Morning there. Hello. Hey, Melissa. You have a different name for everything, but very cool. Yeah, I'm classical learner on just everything. Yeah, so we had the big launch. We had the Bill of Rights class launch yesterday, and that was very successful, I thought. Something I was so excited about, to launch a class on the Bill of Rights, because it really is so important that our children understand their rights. And eventually, I want to just lay down a good foundation, because eventually I would like to have it where our children not only know their rights in terms of, hey, this is the First Amendment, this is the Second Amendment, and so forth, but as they get older into high school, I want to provide the classes and provide the resources necessary for students to really understand all aspects of liberty and law and common law. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. I'm simply an educator. So, but it's really something that I'm passionate about. I know I've referred many parents to, if you look on the left side menu of Homeschools Connected, you'll see rights, right? And one of the things I have on there is a link to Crow 777 Radio, and he has a bunch of great interviews. I listed by episode which episodes you should watch. A bunch of great episodes with attorneys, all about common law and how to defend your rights, and notices of liabilities and conditional acceptances. Really cool stuff that if our children learn throughout middle school and high school, it could really empower them throughout the rest of their lives. So we are someone RV selling business took my name. Ooh, they took your name. Oh, I see. These bastards. All right. It happens. It was a blessing. You were meant to have this name. So we introduced the Bill of Rights class yesterday, and everything went great. I think everyone seemed happy, and I'm very excited for the next 2-3 months where we can navigate the waters between the Bill of Rights, the circumstances before before the American Revolution, and then with some present day type of fiction stuff where we could really mold it all together and the children could learn. I did provide a printable for the class. I got the feedback. It was not printing well. It was printing smudgy. And that turned out to be a blessing, because I had got that from the internet. So I went to Nicole, I went to my wife, and I said, Mrs. Classical Learner, I said, I scoured the internet, and I did not like, even the one I found, I didn't love the printables available. And I said, can you make a printable? And I'm pretty sure she made the best Bill of Rights cheat sheet for kids on the entire internet. So that has been posted on the Bill of Rights section of Homeschools Connected. Make sure you print that, put that on your fridge, put that in your children's room. I don't know, make it the screensaver on their computer. Just make sure they can see it every day. Because over the next 2 or 3 months, by the end of this class, we really want them to understand the Bill of Rights. We want them to understand their liberty. And for any parents that want to do an additional homeschool assignment, one of the things I would love for you to do is, which each class, we're going to sit down and cover one amendment. So this next class, we will be covering the First Amendment, not even the whole First Amendment, just free speech. Yeah. So Nicole, she crushed. So we're going to be highlighting free speech. And what I would like you to do is sit down with your children this week and pull out the First Amendment, whether you have a Constitution or just, internet search the First Amendment, it will come right up. And I want you to read them the First Amendment. And it will say, your freedom of speech, I'm paraphrasing here, but the government will not abridge your freedom of speech, or your freedom of speech will not be abridged. And then look up the definition of the word abridged, right? Speech will not be shortened. Speech will not be limited, right? And I want you to talk to them about the way the document is structured. And what I want you to point out is that the document doesn't say that this document grants you freedom of speech. The document says your right to freedom of speech will not be abridged. The document implies that your rights are inalienable, that you are born with that right, that it's endowed by your Creator, by God. And these were the three phrases that were used in the Declaration of Independence, right? So the document, and part of the reason some of the founding fathers didn't want to put a Bill of Rights, they were wrong. The Bill of Rights is possibly, I would say, outside of the Bible, the greatest document in human history. They were wrong to not want the Bill of Rights, but the reason they didn't want that is they thought that if you put a Bill of Rights, it would suggest to people that our rights come from this document and that we only have the rights that are in the document, not more rights, right? Which is why they made, I believe, the Ninth Amendment, where the amendment is that any rights, not outlined in this document, there are more rights. We're not limited to the rights outlined in the Bill of Rights. So it's very important to point out to your children that the Bill of Rights is a limitation on the government's ability to try to take away your natural rights. It's inherently in the language. When you read the language, okay, so the document itself is saying we're born with these rights, and you really need to, you could do one amendment a week, but drive that home with your children. Think about the Second Amendment, right? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, right? It doesn't say it gave us that right. It says, it's implied, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So when you read this document and go over each amendment with your children, make sure you really point out that language. And I'm going to try to point it out, but it is complicated language, right? Like abridged, infringed. What do these words mean? And that's another great habit that you can develop, right? That gets into the trivium where what you want to do is say, okay, let's look up this word abridged. Dang right, we have more rights and every child and person should know. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So you want to point out that the Bill of Rights itself does not give us rights. The Bill of Rights is a limitation on the government's ability to take away our inalienable rights, our inherent rights, our God-given rights. And that is self-evident in the way the founders of America phrased the wording in the Constitution. They did not say, we're giving you these rights. It's implied. Your freedom of speech shall not be infringed. The right of the people. It doesn't say it gave you that right. It just said it's inherent. The right of the people. You already had it. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. I don't know what that means. Well, that's great, because when we come across a tough word like infringed, we go to the dictionary. Ideally, if you have one, an old dictionary, but use what you have. We go to a dictionary, and we look up we look up the definition of the word infringed, right? And then you're teaching them the habit of, okay, it's very important to look up words, that words have meanings. And you could even point out, you say to them, hey, listen, if you don't know what this word infringed means, someone else could start to, I like to call it, bend the word, change the definition, and they could trick you into not understanding your rights. So it's so important that we always look up words, that we understand our rights. So that's something I'd like to see you do with the children over the course of the next 2 or 3 months. Just one a week. You could even, instead of doing it this week, maybe do it after I do the classes. So this week I'll do the class on the freedom of speech, and then after class, I'll actually put that in as homework. Okay, that works. All right, I'm working this out in my mind right now. I'll literally add that as homework. So after the class on free speech, the parents will sit down with the children throughout the week, just one time. It'll take 10 minutes. Sit down, read the First Amendment, and then practice looking up the definition of these words and really discussing the language and where our rights come from. And I think that'll be very powerful. And we'll do that with the right to assemble, redress grievances, everything, freedom of religion, all of it, right? It's inherent that we have these rights. So anyway, the Bill of Rights class went very well. I'm excited about that. And then I wanted to cover some housekeeping. So we have a lot of new members. So for any of the new members that watch this or the replay of this, real basic rundown. If you look at Homeschools Connected, you can see on the left side menu, right? On the left side menu, you have our Rolodex, right? We have our library of stuff. If you're looking for the Bill of Rights class, it's on the left side menu under the category. You'll see Bill of Rights class. Cut out for a second. If you're looking for the propaganda class, you'll see on the left side menu, propaganda class. If you're looking for the Pen Pal program, we have a Pen Pal program. It's on the left side menu under the category Pen Pals, right? You could find everything right on that left side menu. Our primary chat, where you could have conversations with other members of the community. Our state groups, where you could connect with people in the state that you live. And some of our state groups, I got to say, have been very promising, with people talking about having meetups and, hopefully start forming some co-ops and doing some really cool things. So once you get the hang of it, it's actually pretty easy to use, and it has a lot of good functions. My dog's chasing. So definitely check that out. And then the last thing I wanted to cover was, just a quick stream. A member of our community this morning, she posted that she lives in the state of Tennessee, and her child has to take the 5th grade state testing, and I guess she didn't teach, she didn't cover some of the subjects that are, typically required in that state testing. And now, she's nervous that she failed the child. Well, first off, you didn't fail your child. If anything, you had a slight setback, because what you did cover was very valuable. But that's also a teachable moment, right? It's also a teachable moment in that, although we don't want to be dictated by the state standards, maybe we all do need to be more familiar with them. I look at these moments and, these are teachable moments for myself. And I actually want to set up some checks and balances in our community where we could start raising more awareness about that. Because so many of us are unschoolers and, go to the beat of our own drum, that if your children are taking these state tests, obviously it's upsetting if they don't do good on them. So we want to make sure that our children do very well. So I think I'm going to look into that and see if I could set up some accountability stuff within our community so that no one finds themselves in that situation. Now, in terms of getting ready for the state test, because she's in that situation now, what I would do is I would look to see if there's any way I could get my hands on previous tests in the state of Tennessee. Get your hands on the test, see if you could look them over, or the standards for the test, and then see if you could kind of do a crash course in teaching your child about some of the subjects that will be covered in the testing. Keep in mind that it's you're really being judged against the average, and public school students themselves don't do well, so you can get ready for these tests pretty quickly if you have to. But yeah, I sent her a message after that. I felt that hard, and I've been there. She needs that support. She's not alone. Yeah, I read that. It touches your heart when you see that. So I like I said, I would like to set up some accountability type stuff where we help people in terms of getting ready for those tests. This way they don't feel overwhelmed when the time comes, right? So that's something I'm going to be looking into. It's something that, as a community, if we could all work on assisting her, I'd really appreciate with our cumulative experience. And it's not something she should be deterred by or upset by. It's just one test, and we'll make sure we rally as a community, help her out, and then make sure that no one finds themselves in this situation again, because every moment's a teachable moment for the parents and for myself. And when I see stuff like that, that says, okay, I view myself as a leader, and I need to lead my flock, and I need to lead my people. And, if Rebecca found herself in this situation, I don't want anyone to find themselves in a situation where they feel like their child's not ready for some test or whatever it might be. And like I said, it doesn't take much. Homeschool students, on average, outperform public school students on standardized testing, right? Those are the statistics. And on the SATs, but we need to raise awareness so that people, hey, this is when these tests are coming, and, right? So, anyway, that's just what I wanted to cover today. Those were the thoughts that were on my mind. And, we need to always grow together as a community and, do everything we have to do. So, I will be back. Anyway, you guys know where to reach me. The next lesson in the nature unit study. Oh, yes, the nature unit study could also be found on the left side menu. The next nature unit study will be posted Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, I think we are all growing very well. Yeah, I think so too. And our community is crushing. We have members of our community. We have 8, 9, 10, really 6-year-olds getting amazing entrepreneurial experience, developing real skills, like the stuff that we're all passionate about, right? Like our children being critical thinkers, our children developing skills in construction and engineering and sewing, and we have children making clothing lines and starting businesses where they're approaching local restaurants and offering to build their websites for them and doing amazing things, right? Mindset development, entrepreneurial experience. They're learning about propaganda. They're learning their rights. They're learning about the media. But, I don't know. I just saw that post, and it just seemed like a reminder to me that I also should help people, guide people in terms of getting them ready for those standardized tests and stuff like that, just so they don't feel like they're overwhelmed when the date of the test comes. And really the thing is, all you have to do is, I guess her concern was that she didn't cover a few subjects that will be asked about in the test. So how could a child get answers right when they've never even had exposure to those subjects? So what we need to do is raise some awareness to, okay, these are the subjects that have to be covered. In fact, if anyone wants to take the lead on that, about just finding a good link to the state standards, subjects covered on the state tests. I think that would be very helpful to everyone in the community. I'm going to look into that stuff myself because, like I said, I'm a leader, and I take my responsibility as a leader of this community very seriously. And it's something that the buck has to always stop with me. And if I see anyone overwhelmed, then I take that personally. And I actually, earlier this week, it's funny that came up. Earlier this week, I actually was looking at a book that I want to read, a book just on the subject of leadership, right? So, to me, I always have to be I have to be that guy. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to be that guy. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to lead our community and to lead our flock. And then that's why, I always talk about the regulations so much, right? Anytime someone, right, I talk about regulations ad nauseum, right? I say you have to know the state regulations. You have to know the subject matter that's required to be covered. You have to know when the standardized tests are, right? I talk about this stuff a lot, but, seeing someone who felt like their child, they didn't cover some of those subjects, that makes me say, okay, I need to get on that. And I need to make sure I could raise even more awareness to, hey, be aware of when your standardized tests are coming up and what will be on them, right? And then just make sure you cover those subjects. And then you could cover those subjects without exposing your children to all of the nonsense that we don't want them exposed to. I've been looking through some of these websites on the standards, and it's nauseating, the stuff they have on there. So anyway, it's something we all need to be aware of, and something we all need to help each other with as a community, and that starts with me. So anyway, we'll do that, and we'll continue to crush. So anyway, it was a very positive week. It's a very exciting week, just between everything with the Bill of Rights class launching, the latest message, the latest lesson in our nature unit study, the latest lesson in the course class in the media industrial complex. So a lot of good things are happening, and I don't know, that was just what was on my mind this morning. I wanted to cover some housekeeping, and I don't know, I saw that comment and it really resonated with me. So these are the things that go through my mind, and I just talk about what's on my mind. So, all right, I'm going to go inside and shave my head, and I'm going to cut my own hair, and then I'm going to start the weekend, and we'll do some really exciting things. So I'm going to look into that, and if you have any questions, you know where to reach me. Maybe we could do a sub-tab on each state chat where members could research their state requirements. Yeah, I think I might want to make something like that, which will be a considerable amount of work. So if anyone wants to take the lead on that, I would really appreciate it, because that's going to take a little bit of time. It's a considerable amount of work, just in my mind of what has to be done. But if anyone could take the lead in gathering up all the different state standards, what's on these tests, if we could even get our hands on sample tests for each state, I think that would be really beneficial. So if anyone wants to take the lead, please do. And that's definitely something we could incorporate into what we're already building. How's Mr. Lemon not leaning? Our trees are leaning. Yes, I think members from each state could contribute. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Maybe I'll make a community post where Homeschools Connected needs you. By the way, I'm all for members of Homeschools Connected taking initiative. If anyone has a skill where they want to teach a class, film a video for it and put together some lesson plans, and we can literally turn it into a class. If anyone wants to help with the state standards, gather the there's so much we can do as a community where the community could help build what we're doing here. And I always say, Homeschools Connected, I made it, I'm the facilitator, I'm the leader, but it belongs to the community, and we can build it into the most amazing thing on the planet. So anything like that you want to do, even if it's something as spreading awareness, making mirror channels, taking clips from our live streams and making them into short clips and, making them into a TikTok channel or a YouTube channel and just posting stuff. Like, there's so much people can do. So just don't be afraid to take initiative and run with it. I absolutely love it. And we're building something special here. So I love the ideas and maybe just a link to each state's standards. Yeah. Yeah. I could just make a category, state standards, and then I could do 50 channels under the category. So each state will be its own channel. So like when you look at the state groups, the word state groups, that's the category, right? You click on state groups and the drop-down menu comes down, right? The states are the channels. There's the Arkansas channel, the Alabama channel, right? The California channel, the Connecticut channel, right? So I could do the same thing, state standards, and then have all 50 states and drop them down. But I need help doing that research. Like, that's going to take me a long time. So anyone who wants to take initiative, just jump on it. We need a RVing or traveling channel. Yes, we do. I have to reach out. I have So Rich reach out to me with questions and tips. What do you think? I think that's a great idea. And like I said, I do have you on my to-do list with, maybe I could even put your blog under an RVing channel, which would be cool. Or an RVing category. And then one of the channels could be your RVing blog and anything related to that and whatever, even schooling in that. So that could be pretty cool. So, all right. So anyway, I'll keep working at all this stuff. I try to get as much done as I can. I take on a lot. So any help you guys want to give is absolutely appreciated. Okay, so great. So if a lot of people are reaching out, then there's definitely a demand for it. And like I said, you're a valuable resource. Like you have a great knowledge and skill set. And yeah, we'll keep doing that. So all right, guys, I'm gonna call that a chat. And actually, I'm gonna show you guys the greenhouse. Give you the updates because it's been escalating. Things have been escalating. We got our trees, and they are looking quite beautiful, our peach trees. It's funny, they looked so different. I actually thought they were two different trees, and they sold me the wrong tree. But now that this one's blooming more, it's actually looking more and more like the other tree. I think they are the same tree. I thought they might have sold me a nectarine tree by accident. Our tomato plants are getting pretty big. We put the watermelons in a bucket, but I'm going to have to move this bucket because watermelons require a lot of space. They vine out. I'm going to wind up moving them outside. Tomato plants, eggplants, bush beans, snap peas, climbing beans, carrots, cucumbers, and they're going to go, Nicole put up this trellis. And look at this, look what Nicole did, right? So they could climb up this. We're going to train them to go up, and then we're going to have them go all the way around to the other side, right? And we're going to do the same thing with the cucumber. We're going to train it up, and then we're going to bring it all the way up. There, Mr. Lemon is so invested in your greenhouse journey. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. So, all right, big update on the avocado tree. So I put up this to give it partial shade because it was struggling. And you could see the leaves are actually doing a lot better with the shading. I think they had gotten sunburned because some of the leaves, not a lot of them, but you could see that could be from water deficiency or sunburn. I think it was sunburn. So they're actually doing a lot better now. Got our leafy greens, basil, got our clementine tree. We moved the aloe to a new plant, aloe vera. Got a bee with a little stinger on him there. That's all right, you pollinate. You a nasty looking boy though. You're good with me, but if you sting me, I'm gonna massacre you. All right, but you're good with me, we're good. All right. Pollinate. So we have our zucchini. We got our cherry tree. And our lemon trees, our leaning tower of lemons. So, got Aubrey's little crib in here. Comes to bears. Yeah, I mean they're getting pretty big. They're oh, you know what I did? I planted an avocado seed. That's how you plant them. It takes a while, but that should hopefully sprout. And then I'll just get it into the dirt. I want to, every time I eat an avocado, a lemon, a mango, I want to grow a mango tree. Because, you know, it takes a lot of work, and you're like, well, they don't produce for like 5 years, but like 5 years from now, if I have like 50 to 70 trees that I grew, I mean, think about, people are like, oh, I don't have money. Like, I'm not rich. I'm not monetarily rich. But 5 years from now, if I have 50 to 70 trees that I put in the work to grow, I'm like, yeah, it was a lot of work. Well, yeah, in a way, I'd be pretty rich. I mean, you know, it's like a type of wealth, right? I mean, all of a sudden, think of how much less food I have to buy, and then all of the other things I could do with that. Like, you know, if I have 10, 15 avocado trees that I grew and they're all producing, I'm certain I can make deals with local restaurants and say, listen, these are local avocados. We can literally pick them off the tree and deliver you very, very fresh avocados. They didn't have to be shipped across the country, right? So like, there's a lot of ways to develop wealth, and like, this is one of them. And so, yeah, like right now it's like, man, that seems like a lot of work to plant a tree and to raise it for 5 years. But the thing is, like, if you go to buy a tree, a full-grown tree, like an avocado tree, like I think that tree, the avocado was like $135, right? Like, I can't buy a lot of full-grown avocado trees. Just can't do it, right? Right? I mean, imagine buying 50 of those. So, but what I can do is through my effort, through my labor, right, is I can start growing these trees. And right now, it's like, oh, whatever, a couple of trees. You do it over and over again, and now we're 5 years out, and I have these 50 to 70 trees. Boom. So here's the thing, like, I'm an internet guy, right? Like, I'm a internet influencer, right? And I sell my books on the internet, and I have my homeschool business on the internet. And like, that's great, right? But like, part of becoming free, and this is why I do the nature unit study, this is why I'm so passionate about this stuff, is part of becoming free and living a free life is being independent to the point where you don't ever have to turn the internet on. You don't ever have to go to a job or anything like that. And one of the ways you can do that is, right, you take care of your land, right? And the land takes care of you. And if 5, 6, 7 years from now, I would like to have secondary business operations or tertiary business operations in which I am partnering with restaurants and providing them avocados and mangoes and very fresh stuff, because I just become a little bit less dependent on the system, right? I don't want to be dependent on the internet. And that doesn't mean I won't be doing this. I actually plan on turning Homeschools Connected. I'm going to Netflix education, and we're going to change the world. But even with that, in my life goals, like I don't want to be reliant on their system, on their internet, on that type of stuff. In fact, just wait until where we evolve to as a homeschool community. Just wait till where we evolve, because once I reach a certain threshold, I'm going to be able to do a lot of really cool things. And I think anyone that has followed me for a while knows that I'm a dreamer. I'm a big idea guy. And logistically, I will figure out how to do some of these things. And we're going to build Homeschools Connected into something that's truly special. And we should be able to get it eventually where we're not reliant on their internet, on their servers, on whatever, to the point where we could eventually get everything being physical. So you just build. You start. It's just like planting a seed, right? I plant that avocado seed in 5 years. It's a tree and it's producing, and now it's its own asset, right? I mean, that tree becomes an asset. All of a sudden, people are like, I have no assets. You can get assets. Like, here's the thing. Like, people they don't have the right mindset, and they'll be like, oh yeah, rich dad, poor dad. Like, I always tell people to be rich dad, poor dad. They'll be like, oh yeah, easy to say, just go buy some houses and get assets. Like, no, the mindset's wrong. Like, this is an asset, right? Because in 5 years from now, what if I could plant 20 of those seeds right now? I could plant 50 of those right now, right? And they don't get that big for years. So you could literally, like, in this greenhouse that I built, right? This greenhouse did not cost me a lot of money to build. Look at this. This is PVC piping, right? I got some 2x4s, right? 2x4s, I cut them up. I got PVC piping, some greenhouse topping, these little tracks, and something called wiggle wire. And the buckets, right? Like, the greenhouse wasn't expensive for me to build. I could literally plant 50 of those. And 5 years from now, have 50 avocado trees, right? And then 5 years from now, because of my labor, right, I would have 50 assets, 50 trees that are growing avocados off the trees. And then you just get creative with it. You could do farmers markets. You could do a farm stand. You can partner with restaurants, grocery stores, a lot you could do. But you could create that asset with your mind and with your labor. Think about people like, oh, how am I supposed to get assets? I can't buy a house like Robert Kiyosaki. I made this with my mind. This is my mind and my labor, right? That's all. That's all. I didn't need money. I didn't need money to make that, right? I didn't need money for that. I accidentally left this in the rain, but I made that with my mind, right? Assets. Homeschools Connected, right? Think about it. The company. Assets. So, like, we have such an ability, and this is like why I preach this stuff so hard, and I preach mindset for children. Like, I don't just talk about, I live this stuff. Like, and I preach mindset for our children and experience for our children, because so many people, they look out in the world and they're like, oh, I don't know, there's nothing I can do. Or like their excuse factories, they're like, oh, the must be nice people. Like, it must be nice. Must be nice to have money to buy a house and rent it. I mean, you don't need money to get assets. You need to put in the work, and you need to think and trust yourself and trust your mindset and your ability to grow and your experience, and you can do amazing things in this world. And that's what I try to teach to our children. And then you got to have your principles and your code. I've had the ability where, I don't have rental properties right now, right? I don't have rental properties, and I've had the ability to get them. I understand how to get them. I've had the ability to secure bank loans, but it's against my principle. I don't like debt. I think, especially for someone like me who's like a controversial internet person, I think debt is very dangerous. It becomes a liability, not just in the money itself, but in people's ability to leverage me and get control over me. So I think me being in debt is very dangerous, right? So to me, that's my principle. So even though I love the idea of going to the bank and getting that cheap money, right? That low interest rate, borrow that money for cheap from the bank, buy a fourplex, right? I would take out, if I were going to do it, I would probably buy, I'd get $20,000. I would go to the bank, tell them I wanted to buy a fourplex, which it counts as a single family home. I would take out a $180,000 mortgage. I would lay down $20,000. Boom, I'd have a rental property with 4 doors. And then I would rent out the 4 different apartments to 4 different people. So I'd have 4 different sources of income. And I would pay back the bank with that money, right? That's what I would do. But that's not how I understand it, right? That's not how I choose to live my life. And for some people, that's right. For like some people, that's a great model, right? To accumulating wealth. But for me, being an internet influencer and trying to do the things I'm doing, it would be a big liability, right? And it would allow people to get leverage over me or employers or, just it's a dangerous game to play. So, but for some people, like, I put together a whole plan for a young man to own properties by the time he's 21 years old. And like, if that's the way you want to structure your life, then you view debt differently because debt, right? So then debt just becomes leverage, and the worst case scenario, you just file bankruptcy and lose your houses, right? That's why it's good to do as like 18, 19, 20 years old. But what you would do is either don't have debt or have so much debt that it's laughable. And like, why do I say that? Because if you're going to do the rental property model where you take out the mortgages, the loans, right? And you buy rental properties, then don't stop at a fourplex, right? Then get another fourplex. You could take out, I believe, 4 mortgages on single family homes before you fall into a different category. So you could take out, get a fourplex, a fourplex, a fourplex, and a fourplex, right? You'll have, if we did it at 200,000, which again, the numbers could change, but 2, 4, 6, that would be $800,000 in debt, and you'd own 16 doors, right? It's just a different way to approach things and live. It's not necessarily wrong. It's where they get people in the rat race is where they get them with like $350,000 of mortgage debt for a family house, and it's bleeding all of their income. It's taking away all of their money so they can't invest it into other things, and then it becomes like it puts them in indentured servitude, which is a whole nother ball game. So anyway, this turned out being a good talk. I really like talking to people about assets and liabilities and stuff like that because this stuff has a profound impact on our lives. And this is the type of stuff I like people to be able to teach to their children because it's very powerful. I mean, I'm holding aloe in my hand, right? I'm holding aloe. I mean, it's kind of dead, but I actually got to take this inside and cut it open and see what's inside. Got the aloe. This is the type of stuff where if your children understand this stuff either way from a young age, it could really impact their life positively. But if you take away anything from this talk, it's take away that you don't